I'm going to be doing a hands-on walkthrough of everything that I check on any device before I purchase it to resell. And after phone reselling, all of these things are practically the most vital things that you need to check to make sure that you can make a profit on your device. And also, somewhere in this video, I will be smacking up a sheet that shows the average price that I researched that every single iPhone does sell for if you guys are looking to get into the reselling business. And this will save you a whole lot of time because I went on eBay and found the averages for every single device so that you guys don't have to. So make sure you guys watch the video all the way through because I will be popping it up somewhere. Let's say, for instance, I just bought this iPhone 11. So obviously when you purchase a phone, the first thing you're going to see is the outside of the device. So the first thing you're going to do is look around to make sure that there's no outer damage. The first thing I like to do obviously is check the screen for scratches. So make sure that the screen is on black and you just look around to see if there's any damage there. Then look to the sides for dents. Normally you'll find dents along the corners because that's where phones tend to take the most damage. And if there's no damage on the sides, then you go on to the back part, which is where the camera is going to be. And of course you're going to have the glass back panels, which is what most new phones have. But obviously some of them don't have glass, but just check the back anyways for any damage. As you check, always put the phone at certain angles to see if there's any scratches that you just can't see, and then always check the camera from angles as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when buying a phone, sometimes people will replace the back and the front of the glass because either they dropped it before or because there was damage with the previous screen. So what you want to do is put the phone at a flat angle and see if the screen actually comes up in any way at all. Then that means that the screen got replaced. And the goal here is to always purchase phones that don't have a replaced screen because normally when the screen is replaced, that damages the whole aspect of it being water resistant. And the same goes for the back panel. If the back panel, which has its own little separation, seems to come up a little bit, then that also means that it's been replaced. And you definitely don't want a replaced back panel because that's going to give water access to the battery directly, which could easily damage the phone and make it a complete loss. Then of course check your cameras along the sides to make sure there aren't any cracks like I said earlier, and see if they replaced the glass for the cameras. Once you put it at a flat angle, you'll be able to tell if the glass has been replaced because it'll be a little bit higher than it should and it'll kind of levitate. Now the next thing that you want to do is actually sign into the phone. Normally when a phone is first reset, you could just come straight to the home screen, and then what you want to do is check the volume. Obviously there are speakers at the bottom, but you want to make sure that these speakers are actually functional and that you're not wasting your money. So what I normally do is I'll go on YouTube or I'll just record a video and then I'll just play the first thing that comes up. So let's play this video for instance.
Tonight could be the last chance.
As you guys can see, the speakers work perfectly fine, which means that you could go past that. And then on top of that, you also want to check these speakers. So if you have a SIM card, put it into the phone and call so that you could hear if sound actually does come from this area. Because a lot of times phones will work perfectly fine with the bottom speakers, but the top speakers will be very muffled and have a whole bunch of issues that you just don't want to deal with as a phone reseller. Now, after checking the responsiveness of the actual volume, you also want to make sure that your screen is fully responsive. Check every corner, like over here, make sure that every little button in every area works perfectly fine. Swipe around the screen in all areas because a lot of times some areas of a screen will be dead and it'll have dead pixels, but you won't notice that because it'll look regular and it won't seem any different. But you have to put your finger in those areas and just tap around, put pressure points on the screen to see if everything activates properly, and just make sure that overall everything is functional. Now the next step after you've checked all the physical capabilities of this device to make sure that it does check out, you want to then check the charging port as well. If you have a charger, just plug it right in. Obviously if the charger is responsive, as soon as you plug it in, you should get a little notification telling you the phone is being charged, and then you could just take it out, plug it back in again to make sure that it responds quickly. And then if everything works good in that aspect, then you could move on to the next step, which is where you're going to go into settings and check the device's IMEI number. Now what the IMEI number is this a number that you're able to check to see if this device has been locked or reported stolen by the carrier. The IMEI is right over here, and once you check this number on a carrier website, you're going to have a description that tells you if the phone's paid off, whether or not the phone is able to be unlocked to other carriers, whether it's been reported lost or stolen, or whether it just has any issues at all that you need to know about. And then obviously you're going to be able to tell which network this phone was with originally, and you'll be able to see if this device is unlocked to any carriers. So right over here where it says carrier lock, it says no SIM restrictions, which means this device is fully unlocked and could be used worldwide with any SIM card. Now another thing that you could actually do to check your IMEI number is go over here and click star #06 hashtag, and then you'll be able to see the IMEI and all the device's information. So this is a very simple way to check everything on the spot in case you don't know how to go through settings and find all that you need. Now after you've checked the IMEI to make sure that everything does check off properly, You then want to find a little SIM card popper and pop the SIM card tray out, where you'll then insert the SIM card into this phone to make sure that it actually does work with the carrier. And when it does work, you will see that this little bar over here, which is the network signal, is going to come up, and it'll tell you that it's connected with whichever provider you put the SIM card with. The next thing that you want to do after you're signed into the phone is check the front and back cameras. Now, with any phone, you obviously want to make sure that the camera is responsive and doesn't have any dead pixels as well, because in some cases a camera could bleed out along the back end parts, which will cause the quality of the phone to be terrible. And if the camera did get replaced, it will come up foggy at times, but you want to make sure that every time that you're checking this, that there are no issues at all. So over here, obviously you can see that there's no issue with the front camera or the back camera. And then obviously some phones have a wide camera, so you test that one as well. Now, while checking the camera, it's also good to make sure that the flash does work. So you can just pull up the flashlight, and obviously the flashlight on this device is working perfectly fine, which is a great thing. And now, in order to check to see if this phone has a replaced screen or a replaced back panel or battery, you could always just go to settings, which I'll pop up on the screen somewhere over here, and you'll notice that there's sometimes an icon that pops up along this area that tells you that this screen is not a genuine Apple part. And if that's the case, that means that a component of this device has been replaced before, and normally those are going to be cheaper parts, so you could negotiate the price down for whichever phone you're purchasing. So you always want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that everything on this device is genuine, because if it's not, that means that it's cheaper than the actual retail price. And that also means that you could either negotiate or you could bail out of this device completely. Because normally cheaper parts, for instance a screen, will have a lot more issues after it gets replaced. Because what you have to keep in mind is that when a screen is replaced, there's a sticky component called adhesive that is put behind the layer of this screen to hold it intact. And once that layer is removed, that removes the capability of this phone being water resistant. So normally if you drop a phone in water, it could sit there for a bit or it could go a few feet down. But with the adhesive removed underneath the screen, the same goes for the back component, because if there's no adhesive, that means that water could slide in between any little gaps and cause permanent damage to either the battery, the LCD display, or the OLED display. Now, the next thing that you want to do is check the battery capacity on the device that you're purchasing. You could find this by going back to settings, scrolling down to where it says battery, and then you're going to click on battery health and charging. And normally when I'm purchasing phones, I try to get a battery capacity of at least 80%, but I do suggest going for around 85 to 90% if you want your phone to sell a lot faster. Because coming from a previous phone reseller, I'll tell you right now, people do not want to know that their phone only goes up to 80% in charge, and normally they'll want at least 85 to 90%. So try to aim for those, and if a phone isn't that high in battery capacity, then try to bring the prices down a little bit more so that you could get your money's worth and you could still sell the device at a profit. If you're purchasing an iPhone, one thing that you want to make sure is that the device is not iCloud locked. Obviously, you want to be able to click up at the top of settings and sign into an iCloud account, and you shouldn't have an issue doing so if this device isn't associated with any iCloud. Now, normally if a device is iCloud locked, that means that you can't really have it removed unless you pay for an extra service, and then that's going to minimize your profits even more, which means that you might end up breaking even or even losing money. So that's definitely one thing that you want to avoid fully, because it's a complete waste of time, and you could always find devices that aren't iCloud locked. So always make sure you try to sign into an iCloud. Make sure that you pop a SIM card in to make sure that it's actually responsive with your carrier. And obviously you definitely want to check your IMEI number to make sure that this device has not been reported lost or stolen. So overall, those are the few things that you do need to check in order to make sure that you don't have issues when buying phones. And this is the full-on hands-on tutorial of everything that I would look through. So as you guys could see to the left of me, this is the sheet that I was talking about. And pretty much what I did in order to make this sheet is I went on eBay and went to all the sold listings that they have for different iPhone devices and the amount of storage that that phone has, and I will get the average sold price for every single phone. And by doing this, I'm able to determine how much a phone is worth and how much I could sell it for, so that I could negotiate the prices down at least $50 below the price that I could see they could sell for, so that every time that I purchase a phone, I could still sell it at a $50 profit minimum. If I can't sell it in person, then I'll just sell it on eBay, because regardless, it has a very high chance of selling. So if you guys are looking to get into phone flipping, I hope this sheet helps you out, because it took me about 2.5 hours to make, and it's definitely a huge plus because you don't have to do as much research in order to find a good device to purchase. And the reason that you won't see all of the newer devices listed on this sheet is because you don't always want to go for the newest devices, because they will cost you more, and regardless, you're still going to be making around a $50 profit using this paper. So it's kind of pointless to buy a phone that's going to cost you like $800 and still make you like $50 versus going ahead and buying a $200 phone that could still make you the same $50. So you could spend that other $600 elsewhere so that you could have multiple devices to sell all at once. Besides that, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications if you did. Besides that, I'll see you guys in the next one.
See you, chump.